Sound ठीक है, sound on कर देना पड़ेगा, sound टेबल on. मैं पूरा से. So Namah Shri Yatiraja Om Tava Katha Amritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Panamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Bhurida Janaha. The nectar of thy words revives the scorched spirit of human beings. They purify the sinner and are the life of the holy. To hear them itself is auspicious and peace generating. They are the real givers. Spread thy name far and wide. Welcome to the Friday scripture class. And as you can see on the background, I am out of the ashram. I am in fact in London, Ontario. So I'm having the class online from here. Hope you are listening it nicely. There's no problem in the audio and the video. I can see the video. It's all okay. So after this is the first gospel class after summer vacation. We had last Friday. We had a class on the Viveka Chudamani by visiting Swami Kripamayananda ji. It was very nice class. He took first few verses he explained wonderfully, and today is of the gospel, the date for the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. If you remember, we were continuing on page 352. The chapter was M at Dakshineswar, part 1. So this is very nice. In fact, gospel is every page is so nice. So this is also very wonderful, wonderful messages of Sri Ramakrishna's conversation. So we really feel it's so wonderful to be with Sri Ramakrishna. When we have the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it is not just reading the book. It is being with Sri Ramakrishna. We actually have the holy association with Sri Ramakrishna himself. So when he talks, we feel like he is speaking. When we read his words written by Yem and translated by Swami Nikhilananda ji, in fact, are listening as if we're hearing the words of Sri Ramakrishna. So it is the on page 352, the master is replying. So the first goes, yes, that is true. Your ideal is to reach the goal. You may reach it by going either through a thorny forest or along a good road. So whatever is there, we have to reach the goal. Sometimes the road is easy, sometimes road is difficult, but whatever road is chosen, was given by God, doesn't matter. We have to go through that road and reach the goal. That is the thing Sri Ramakrishna says. Now he continues. Diverse opinions certainly exist. Nyangta used to say that the monks could not be feasted because of the diversity of their views. Once a feast was arranged for the sannyasis. Monks belonging to many sects were invited. Everyone claimed that his sect should be faced first. But no conclusion could be arrived at. At last, they all went away, and the food had to be given to the prostitutes. So, when you have no consensus, when you have no thing that you cannot accommodate the views of others, so you don't reach the real goal and purpose is lost. Actually, this what is said by Sri Ramakrishna, actually, what was happening in a Kumbh Mela. I had gone to that Kumbh Mela in Haridwar in I think it is 19 towards the end of the last century. There it happened that two groups of these akhadas were claiming they should be given first to chance to get a dip in the Ganga, and no one was relenting, and there was as if Kumbh Mela itself was going to be cancelled. The previous day only it was resolved, and the Kumbh Mela continued. Remember, if it was cancelled, people from pilgrims had from all over India from all other parts of the world, Hindus have arrived in Haridwar and ready to take a dip. And there was no resolve that there will be Kumbh Mela or not. So that type of thing may happen if just what is, it doesn't matter who takes the dip first. It is about taking a dip in the holy Ganga on that day. There are other few holy days after a few days. It continues about 1 month. So, but they were not coming into consensus. Finally, they somehow they got into consensus and they agreed on one group taking the deep first, and it was organized. But Sri Ramakrishna here says the food had been cooked and it could not be fed to the sannyasins and was had to be given to other persons. So that may happen if diverse opinions are not accepted, diversity is not accepted. That's why in Toronto we have the slogan "Diversity, our strength." So and Swami Vivekananda says if there was no variation, but there is no diversity, there will be no creation. Creation means diversity, variation, varieties. Otherwise, if all become one group, one religion, one community, one type of ethnicity, then there will be no creation would be lost. All will merge into one. Different thoughts, different religion, different faith, different way to practice religion, different rituals. So, and we have to accept all that. That Sri Ramakrishna is saying. If there is only one religion in the world, that will not be good for the world. There have to be many religions, and all religions should be able to accept the others, and yet knowing fully that we all go to the same goal, to God, uh, practice our own dharma, our own religion, but accept, let them other go to their own religion. So respect the others' faith and path, and yet hold on to your own faith. So that is the way it is said. Yen. Totapuri was indeed a great soul master. But Hazra says he was an ordinary man. There is no use in discussing these things. Everyone says that his watch alone gives the correct time. So, so that is the problem with people. Even the Totapuri's greatness, the Hazra couldn't fathom. So Sri Ramakrishna so many times is there. When he quotes what the Totapuri said, he would not name Totapuri as Totapuri because Totapuri was his guru. And in our tradition, Guru's name is not spoken by mouth. So he used to call him Nyangta. Nyangta means the naked one. That's how Sri Ramakrishna used to address. In our culture, like even the wives in very traditional places, wives should not take the name of their husbands. So this out of respect, out of reverence, that's a system that disciple won't take the name of Guru. Some do that, but Sri Ramakrishna used to do. Not that everyone follows, and everyone need not follow. You see, Sri Ramakrishna continues, Narayan Shastri developed a spirit of intense renunciation. He was a great scholar. He gave up his wife and went away. A man attains yoga when he completely effaces woman and gold from his mind. With some, the characteristics of the yogi are well marked. So, the characteristics of the yogi again, the purity, detachment, love of God, not entangling in oneself in the worldly things, no desire for worldly objects, the joy in spiritual practice, meditation, repeating the name of God, than in eating and drinking and enjoying the worldly things. So that is the sign of a yogi, and yogi who enjoys in the self. यस्तु आत्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तस्य मानव आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्ट तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. He doesn't have to perform the works in the world, who is satisfied in himself, is happy with himself. Self means Atma means the soul, the real higher spiritual goal, or spiritual ideal. One, if one can find, can lodge into that, and then the worldly thing is not required for that person. So that person is yogi already, the yoga with God, union with God. So that well marked in some person. And he praises the Narayan Shastri. He developed intense renunciation. That's why he gave up the world. Mm, that he talks about the one person who had that thing, he gave up everything. But in Sri Ramakrishna idea, giving up the home and the heart and the relationship and the duties, once you accept the duties of samsara and are married, giving up is not very much encouraged. In fact, in our order, no one can become monk if one has gone into the householder's life and has got married. They cannot do become monk. In traditional way, we know that there were that four ashramas: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas used to be the last. Everyone used to go Vedic time. This was the thing. People used to have the brahmacharya life when they studied. Then the grihastha, they become married and got children and earned money and looked after their parents and monks and worship at the temple. All those were done by those householders. They were the one who produced wealth. And then there was Banaprastha when they retired, and then finally was Sannyasa when they totally detached from the worldly duties and worldly relationship. That was the traditional way. But in Vedic also there are there are passages where it is said, if we have intense renunciation, you can become a sannyasin whenever you have that renunciation. Yada hareva virajet, tada hareva prabrajet. Whenever one has that vairagya comes, that intense renunciation comes, that you may become a sannyasi. And prabraja, paribrajaka from that word comes. So whenever, Yada Hareva, whenever it happens. So Narayan Shastri was had intense renunciation, says Sri Ramakrishna. But all don't have intense renunciation. Some might be tired of worldly duties and want to give up and remain, oh, so much of this thing, quarrel with this person, so much of this one, I just want to quit. This quitting because of the fear of getting have taken the responsibility doesn't reap the fruit of renunciation. Renunciation, if it is done without intense, this giving up sannyasa is done without intense renunciation, so it is not fruitful. Narayan Shastri, intense renunciation, only then he went. Sri Ramakrishna didn't encourage him to renounce the world, asked Nag Mahasaya to remain in the world. He didn't say anyone to renounce the world until it was necessary. As far as in the case of few of his disciples, like Swami Brahmananda, Rakhal. He was married, and Sri Ramakrishna encouraged him because he was very pure and there was natural renunciation. He was a Ishvara Koti. He was not entangled in worldly life. So he would not really do the worldly responsibility. He would not take. He was not meant for that. Somehow he got married and had a samsara. But his wife looked after by the people, and she also died very early, very young. And that's how it is not much encouraged when you are married. For example, Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda also became monk after his wife had passed away. Guru Gopal Maharaj after his wife had passed away. Those who had wives, Sri Ramakrishna didn't encourage except Rakhal. Rakhal was very special, exceptional case. Otherwise, Nagmas, him, all were householders and were great safety persons in householders' life. Yam wanted to renounce. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you cannot and should not. That's how this renunciation thing comes. Sri Ramakrishna continues, I shall have to tell you something of the six centers. The mind of the yogi passes through these and he realizes God through his grace. Have you heard of the six centers? The six centers of the Kundalini in Sushumna. That Kundalini yoga, I think they mostly do it. Six centers is done. So this mind passage. One is that yogis see the centers. Sometimes those who practice Kundalini. Vedantic persons, they are also yogis. They may not go for the Kundalini, but it is the level of the mind. You can call it Kundalini that way. As Sri Ramakrishna says, yogis see the centers, seven centers, chakras, but Vedantics, in Vedanta there is a talk of say six planes of a mental mind level. So each level of the mind corresponds with the chakra of yoga. So it is similar saying. These are all the state of the mind. So yes, Sri Ramakrishna says these are, yes, here is already there. I shall have to tell you something of the six centers. The mind of the yogi passes through these and he realizes God through his grace. Have you heard of the six centers? Yeah. These are the seven planes of Vedanta. You must have heard from Sri Ramakrishna himself. Sri Ramakrishna had told earlier, and he remembers everything that Sri Ramakrishna told. Yam had already retained that in his memory. Master, not the Vedanta, but the Vedas. Okay, Vedas have the seven planes. So Vedanta even doesn't. Advaita Vedanta doesn't go for this. They say just Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and from Sravana, the highest truth you hear Aham Brahmasmi. Then you do reflection on that, put the mind, think about that I am Brahman, and then finally you meditate on that nididhyasana, not the dhyana, nididhyasana, that you always are in awareness of the Brahman, that you are not the body and the mind and the worldly things, but you are Brahman. With that awareness, that is the direct thing. So you don't have to have seven planes, and but the Vedas talk of the seven planes. Master, do you know what the six centers are like? They are the lotuses in the subtle body. The yogis see them. They are like the fruits and leaves of a wax tree. Fruit and leaves of a wax tree. So, like this world, everything is there, and the tree made of wax, everything is divine. And in that, you find the six planes, all made of all divinity. And that's why he calls it the fruits and the leaves of wax tree. Everything is divine. EM says, yes, sir, the yogis can perceive them. I have read that there is a kind of glass through which a tiny object looks very big. Likewise, through yoga, one can see those subtle lotuses. So these are very subtle, invisible to others. It is in the sushumna and the backbone. It goes through the very subtle nerve that cannot be pursued by others, not by physical means. Doctors can't see it, but yogis can see it. It is so subtle. And yogis can see the lotuses or the centers of the chakras are also called lotuses in that Sushumna chakra at the center of the backbone, in the center of that spinal cord. But it is very subtle, so it is real, but it is subtle. So other than yogis, nobody can see it. Physically, it cannot be seen. Following Sri Ramakrishna's direction, M spent the night in the hut at the Panchavati. In the early hours of the morning, he was singing alone. I am without the least benefit of prayer and austerity, O Lord. I am the lowliest of the lowly. Make me pure with thy hallowed touch. One by one I pass my days in hope of reaching thy lotus feet. But thee, alas, I have never found. Suddenly M glanced toward the window and saw the master standing there. Sri Ramakrishna's eyes became heavy with tears as M sang the line. You see the Guru and the disciple, see the love of Guru for the disciple. M was singing from his heart that everything happened, but I have not got you. I have not found you, O Lord. And Sri Ramakrishna came to see how he is doing. He heard the song perhaps from his room because this Panchavati was a little far, but he must have interested what the M is doing. He's meditating, so he wanted to take care of him. and that's why he came to towards that Sadhana Kuti or near the Panchavati, where the hut was there, where Sri Ramakrishna had practiced that Advaita sadhana and had attained the Nirvikalpa Samadhi and remained there for 3 nights. And Totapuri was there, and after that again for 6 months there. So there Sri Ramakrishna goes, and his eyes, Sri Ramakrishna's eyes were, um, and saw the master standing there. Sri Ramakrishna's eyes became heavy with tears as M sang the line. What was the line? I am the lowliest of the lowly, make me pure with thy hallowed touch. So, and not very far. Sri Ramakrishna must be very close to the window of M. When M was singing, Sri Ramakrishna came very close, and he was touched by the song of M, and he could see the tears in the eyes of Sri Ramakrishna. It filled with water, tears. The eyes were filled with tears of Sri Ramakrishna. Yam sang again, I shall put on the ochre robe and earrings made of conch shell. Thus, in the garb of a yogini, from place to place I shall wander till I have found my cruel Hari. Yam saw that the master was walking with Rakhal. So Rakhal had also come in the morning there. So this was the song of the maybe gopis, and she talks about that she'll become a monk. And this is particular. This dress of monk is generally done by the Natha Sampradaya. This Natha Sampradaya, the Gorakhanath, they put in the ear, they make the hole, and they wear the conch shell ring in both. Even you see Yogi Adityanath, if you see photograph, you'll find a small ring is there. They'll wear the big one, but yogis used to wear that. And ochre robe with conch shell ring in their ear. So that is the particularity of the Natha Sampradaya. They have that. And that's what the tradition was there. They were quite widespread, very known. Vedantic monks were not that very common. Vedanta practitioners of Vedanta were always very few. Though they do not have anything like Shankaracharya is supposed to have on his staff, Dandi, that was the Vedantic Swami and Vedantic monks have. And in our order, this Danda is also given up in the river. We don't keep him in Danda. Some orders of the Vedantic Dasanami Sampradaya, they have Danda. But we in the Ramakrishna order don't have the Danda. But in Shankaracharya pictures that are painted, you often see the Shankaracharya holding that staff or danda. That's why they call dandi. In one Bengali Agamani song, you will hear Koto Asve. When mother will come, so many dandis will come, and there will be chandi will be recited. The dandi means those who have danda. That means sannyasis. That's how it name came. Dandi. Having danda, it's called dandi. That means sannyasi. And now it is Friday, December 21, 1883. It must be the next day. Whatever, December 20. Must be, they didn't mention it. Earlier entry is December 19, but must be the next day. Came was there. I think we did that. Anyway, let's read on December 21. M was staying there, and next day morning. In the morning, the master and M were conversing alone under the bael tree. The master told him many secrets of spiritual discipline, exhorting him to renounce woman and gold. He further said that the mind at times becomes one's guru. So renunciation of only attachment and the desire for enjoyment, sense pleasure, not the renunciation of the worldly responsibilities. So that what Sri Ramakrishna advised him to do, and that he will be guided in the process, go on practicing, because mind becomes one's own guru in the process of spiritual practice. After his midday meal, the master went to the Panchavati wearing a beautiful yellow robe. Two or three Vaishnava monks were there, clad in the dress of their sect. So Sri Ramakrishna very rarely put on this yellow or ochre robe. Ochre robe we never hear, but that day he put on the special robe. Otherwise, he used to always wear the white dhuti, but this time he wore the yellow robe, yellow dhuti. In the afternoon, a monk belonging to the sect of Nanak arrived. He was a worshipper of the formless God. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to meditate as well as on God with form. The master said to him, "Dive deep. One does not get the precious gems by merely floating on the surface. God is without form, no doubt, but he also has form. By meditating on God with form, one speedily acquires devotion. Then one can meditate on the formless God. It is like throwing a letter away after learning its contents and then setting out to follow its instructions. So this December 21, only this month, just half, 1/4 of the page. Nothing more happened that day, it seems. Yam was very eager in practicing the thing, very little conversation with Sri Ramakrishna. That much was there. This follower of Nanak, the sannyasi of the follower of Nanak, a monk belonging to the sect of Nanak. Nanak never encouraged monasticism. In fact, Nanak himself was not a sannyasi, and Nanak never encouraged to become a sannyasi. But what he taught was love of God, and what he practiced was total. Though he didn't become sannyasin as such, but he was in all the ways he was a sannyasi because he had no money or any attachment to anything. So he had no his family also, but he didn't take formal sannyasi. So some people in Punjab. Um, they when they read the Granth Sahib and they found so much of love of God and all that, reading that detachment from the worldly enjoyment in Granth Sahib, the teachings of Nanak. So some became monk. They wanted to become monk by just reading the Nanak's this thing book. And in that process, as Nanak always emphasized the formless aspect of God, no, there is no worship of statue or image in Sikhism, or Nanak also never said about that. Though the name of Rama, Hari, all those are there, but there is no image worship or worship of a visible picture is not there in Sikhism. So they're also like that. So he was. Worshipping formless God. It's so difficult to really meditate on the formless God or have the real love develop for the formless something. So Sri Ramakrishna wanted, out of his compassion for this monk of the Nanak's ways, sect of Nanak, so he encouraged the person to believe in the God with form, though ultimately formless, because to become infinite one has no form. Yet there is no harm in thinking of God assuming the form. So that makes our worship, meditation, relationship more stronger if we think of God in having a form, or in the form of the particularly human form. Then comes real relationship as Vaishnava devotion teaches. Think God as either your child or your friend or your master, like that, in five different ways. And then it becomes relationship, becomes intimate, and you really are always thinking of God as a worldly person thinks of the children or the grandchildren. The people who really love God, they will think of God if you accept God with form, and it will help you to grow spiritually much quicker. For many, it will be much quicker and more in a correct and right way. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna said to Nanak Panthi monk also, accept the form of God with form, and that will make you easier. Your spiritual practice will be easier. So now the next day, Saturday, December 22, 1883. Rakhal, Harish, M, and Latu had been staying with Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. About 9 o'clock in the morning, the master was sitting with them on the southeast veranda of his room when Balaram's father and Devendra Ghosh of Shampupur arrived. Balaram's father was not really very happy because his son used to go to Sri Ramakrishna, didn't look after his zamindari, the administration of the cultivation and, and engaging the farmers. He was aloof from such duties of being a farmer's son, and he was very close to Sri Ramakrishna. So he really didn't like the by nature, he was Balaram was like that, but somehow he found Sri Ramakrishna close to his place from Bagbazar. It was not very far, but Dakshineswar was very close, and from Bagbazar to Boranagar to Dakshineswar, not far. So that way, not very far. So that way, this Balaram's father wanted to see Sri Ramakrishna, and they thought that Sri Ramakrishna's, by following the path of Sri Ramakrishna's advice, his son had become, this son had become disinterested in managing the wealth, earning the wealth, and running the jamindari. So he came to see Sri Ramakrishna, about whom Balaram had already spoken to his father. Balram's father was also a devoted person. They had a place in Vrindavan, and he was really lover of Sri Krishna. But they were Vaishnavites, and they used to love Sri Krishna. But he was a genuine spiritual seeker, a genuine lover of God. But he didn't like that, not looking after the property and giving up and renouncing all attachment to the things. He was not of that type, so he didn't approve his son's totally getting rid of worldly attachment, worldly things. But yet he wanted that you worship God, you repeat the name of God, and also you look after the things like that, be in the world and also love God like that, which in an intense sense very difficult to happen. But he was like that. So he has come to see Sri Ramakrishna, a devotee. Sir, how does one obtain love for God? So that is the question you'll find often asked to Sri Ramakrishna, and that is the goal of all devotees, how to have love of God. One of my students in Asansol, he said, Swami, I love Ma Kali. I think I have love for Holy Mother also. But really to say, I do not find love growing towards Sri Ramakrishna. So it is not easy to love Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Chaitanya also said, God incarnate says that I can give you mukti, but giving bhakti, I really hesitate. Mukti dite katar nahi, bhakti dite katar hoi. I really hesitate to give bhakti. It is very precious for the followers of bhakti, path of bhakti. Mukti you can attain, but bhakti is difficult to attain. Like that is the thing. So it's not easy to love Sri Ramakrishna. You can love imaginary form of Krishna, how he looked beautiful, charming, young, and very charming. You paint the picture as you like. Wonderful eyes, madhuram, maduram, vadanam, maduram, nayanam, maduram. Everything is sweet and perfect and charming. You make and then make the image of Sri Krishna, and then you find the perfect, most handsome person, baby or adolescent or youthful, with all the decoration and all your peacock feather and the ornaments. And you can make body as you like, very healthy. And then you love that personality by even seeing the physical form because you have imagined Krishna would be like that. But in case of Sri Ramakrishna, there is no imagination. We see how Sri Ramakrishna was. But in love, it's not always the external physical thing that we love. In when love for God comes, or in fact, love for anything, your grandson However he may look, you love that more than any other person with perfectly built another person's grandson is not that dear to you as your own grandson. He might have some problem, but that will be still the best looking baby in the world. So, for a devotee of God, form of God, whatever it is there, he really likes and loves that form. For the devotee of Kali, Mother Kali is the best. Krishna also doesn't come to that level. Mother Kali, the tongue protruding and the head and standing black color. So all that for them, Sadanandamai Kali Ma, there's no form as beautiful as Mother Kali for the devotee of Kali. For the devotee of Shiva, how much they love Shiva's form. Snake, there, if you see what is Shiva, he lives in the cremation ground and the body smeared with the ashes from the crematorium and wearing the garland of snakes and bare bodied and like that Shiva is there. But devotees of Shiva loves the form of Shiva best because that love has grown. And as a lover of Krishna loves Krishna, lover of Kali loves Kali the most, Shiva the most, Ganesha the most. With Ganesha with long head of elephant and the trunk coming out, a big ears and small eyes and big pot belly. That personality is most beautiful for the followers of Ganesha, for the lovers of Ganapati. None other form. Krishna is also not that charming for them as is the Ganapati. So it is when we love something, it happens that way. You love, it doesn't depend on how does it look. So those who love Sri Ramakrishna, for them Sri Ramakrishna is the best, most lovable person. But that has to come. It doesn't come by itself by reading his life, by reading his conversation and thinking and knowing his mind and wonderful answer, his unique love for everyone. When you see his life and his personality and his thought and his total unselfishness and total merging in God, then you love Sri Ramakrishna more than anyone else, more than anyone else. Even your friendly, your family tutelary deity is also becomes secondary when Sri Ramakrishna comes to our life. Of course, for that one has to have the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. When Sri Ramakrishna grace can be caught, then you will love Sri Ramakrishna like nothing else. We love lover of Sri Ramakrishna loves Sri Ramakrishna more than they love anyone else in life. Husband, wife, children, grandchildren, they themselves are not so lovable as the Sri Ramakrishna's form. His eye is beautiful, his mind in samadhi and sitting there, and the simplicity of Sri Ramakrishna and the clarity of his thought. Unlettered person saying such wonderful scriptures coming out from his mouth, all the Vedas and Vedanta and the Gita, all he's speaking, all that is so charming. Whom you love more than Sri Ramakrishna's personality. So that way, so that my student who is initiated, so he says, "Oh, I cannot love Sri Ramakrishna yet." So I say in my mind, you will love later on. Go on loving Holy Mother. Maybe you'll have to go to Sri Ramakrishna through Holy Mother. So that's so nice. He loves Holy Mother. That's also great. So that's how the love grows, connection grows. People said first the young people love Swami Vivekananda's thoughts and his teachings and his inspiring words of bravery and inspiring word of courage and service. And then slowly comes Sri Ramakrishna, because Sri Ramakrishna was the Guru, comes to realize that Swami Vivekananda was made by Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna would be so powerful, who could made a person like that? And then comes to Sri Ramakrishna. After that, realize that, oh, there is another person not going into samadhi, not speaking so high gospel like thing, but whatever she has spoken is sweetest thing, very practical thing, as if again the essence of the gospel comes to the mouth of this woman, and they love Holy Mother as the inspiration, as the basis of all Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, and as the refuge of all time whenever there is anything we need, Holy Mother, Ma, Ma, Jai Ma, like that. So that way one have that change in the shift in what we love. So loving Sri Ramakrishna is that way. So, how to love God, how to love Sri Ramakrishna, how to love our chosen ideal, how to love Ishta, if Shiva is my Ishta, if Ganesha my Ishta, if Sri Ramakrishna my Ishta, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu my Ishta, how to love my Ishta more than anyone else, whom Guru said he is or she is your Ishta, how to make him or her real Ishta. Ishta means what you wish for. You wish that is called Ishta. You want to get that. You want to become like that. You want to have that in your life, always guiding, thinking. That becomes a part and parcel of your life. That is the Ishta. The word, very word means that how to love Ishta. So, sir, how one obtains love for God. So let us see what Sri Ramakrishna's teaching is there. It's very important for all seekers of spirituality, how to love God. Master, go forward. The king dwells beyond the seven gates. You can see him only after passing through all the gates. The gates are the worldly things or the idea about God. So if we see Mother Kali, go further, go forward. She is not just the form that we see. She is the very creator of this universe, creator, preserver, and destroyer. She is the ultimate reality. So if we come to know about Mother Kali, we cannot but love Mother Kali like that. Go forward, try to understand who is that your Ishta. Then your love will automatically come for your Ishta. At the time of the installation of Annapurna at Chanok, I said to Dwaraka Babu, large fish live in the deep water of a big lake. Throw some spiced bait into the water. Then the fish will come, attracted by its smell. Now and then they will make the water splash. Devotion and ecstatic love are like the spiced bait. Now this truth is hidden deep in the river, in the world, or in the heart actually. It's really Vrindavan. The heart becomes Vrindavan. Now we have to find Krishna in it. Krishna represents God, whatever the Ishta is there. How to find that? It is like Sri Ramakrishna gives like the example of catching fish. When you put some hook, angle in the water, the fish that are on the surface, the upper level of water, they can be caught, they come and eat the bait. But there are some big fish at the deeper region, how to catch them? So you have to have the spiced bait for them, and then only they will come. So what is spiced bait? What is that big large fish? That is love for your Ishta will be really gained by that. Little worshipping, little offering flowers, and keeping fast. That is not enough. It's just above these minnows and the small fish. But real fish is deep. Ishta is deep within your heart. You have not found that. So to have that, you have to have this ecstatic love. Is like that devotion and ecstatic love. If you can grow that, Ishta will come, it will be caught. You have to catch Ishta like a fisherman catches big fish. And when you get that, it is all joy. So, ecstatic love. When you have nothing else loving but your Ishta, and to come through practice. When you continue our repeating God's name, repeating the name of the Ishta, automatically love starts coming slowly, slowly. Do that's why they say do morning and evening and try to do every all the time. The more we repeat the name of God, more our devotion becomes stronger, consolidated. Our love for God becomes very gradually becomes ecstatic. So it becomes solidified, and then we will have real love grown for our Ishta. And this Chanak is the name of the place, and there was the installation of Annapurna temple there. That's what Sri Ramakrishna said. And he continues God sports in the world as man, he incarnates himself as man. as in the case of Krishna, Rama, Chaitanya. Once I said to Keshav, the greatest manifestation of God is in man. There are small holes in the bulk of a field, there where crabs and fish accumulate in the rainy season. If you want to find them, you must seek them in the holes. If you seek God, you must seek Him in the incarnations. So, some like the theories like this Brahmo Samaj don't believe in the incarnation of God. So they will say God is all pervading, formless, human beings are different from God. But Sri Ramakrishna says, no, no. God appears in the world as the human being. When God comes as Avatara, he's so different from other human beings. He's so full of love for God is manifested. The difference between the incarnation and ordinary human beings is clearly perceptible. And that's what he said. If we have to find God, best is to search for the avatara. His avatara himself is saying, giving hint that here is one. You catch of him, know that it is God Himself had become a human being as Sri Ramakrishna. At the end, he had to say to Narendranath that he who was Rama is now Krishna, who was Rama and who was Krishna is now Sri Ramakrishna. But he is giving hint of that to here to Keshav he gave. Like that he's saying about the incarnation of God. And the story of these crabs and other small fish getting shelter in the small holes in the field is that because they find a shelter, they make a home there, and if you have to find, you have to search those shelters. So as if the human avatara is the shelter, body of avatara, where God remains. If you have to find God, go to avatara. If you want to have love for God, go to the people who really practice religion and they love God, and from them you can imbibe love of God. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna gives wonderful example. Baitak Khana, that's what he said. The heart of a devotee is the Baitak Khana of God. Baitak Khana is God is all pervading, but he can be easily found in a place called their drawing room, where he will be found all over the world. Room, a house is the person's house. He can be in any room, but he generally after his meal and after he will be in his drawing room. That is his office. If you have to see him, go to his office. So you go to holy man where the God sits in his heart, in his or her heart, and God can be found. Bhakti Hriday Bhagavanen Boitakkhana. Because God has occupied the heart, the person knows nothing but God. That is the real devotee. And if you want to find God, look at the incarnation of God. There, the God really reveals. Incarnation of God is nothing but God, filled with God. If God is something like a water of Ganga, so water of Ganga is fully filling in the incarnation. You find the maximum amount of godliness there. If you want little godliness, go to the saints. There are little few drops of Ganga will find there. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna said to the person how to love God. So um, have an incarnation, worship incarnation, Krishna, Rama, Ramakrishna, Chaitanya, or Nitya Avatara, Kali, Shiva, or human avatar in other religions, Jesus, all are God. They're all God, infinite God taking the human form. So worshipping them, we worship God. Loving them, we love God. And he gives Sri Ramakrishna gives the example. To love God, you don't have to love the whole infinite being. You love the human form of God, you have loved the whole God. It gives beautiful example. To touch Ganga, you don't have to go from Gangotri to Gomukh to Gangasagar. All the way you have to touch. No, you go wherever Ganga is touched and Ganga you have touched. Like that, when you see an incarnation of God and love incarnation of God and have the study, read what incarnation of God has said, you are following His teachings, you are loving God Himself, the Infinite One, and you are guided by God Himself. In your spiritual practice. So, incarnation of God and God the infinite are not two things. They're all same thing. Just God takes the incarnation just to help the human beings how to love God, what to say, how to connect, how to associate. That's how it happens when we read the story of incarnation. Ramayana, if you read, you become intoxicated with love of God. It's not only Rama, the Dasarath's son. You love God as such. When you love Rama, you love Krishna, you love Shiva, you love everyone when you love Rama. So, like that, when you start loving Sri Ramakrishna, you love Swami Vivekananda, you love Rakhal, you love Holy Mother, you love Krishna, you love Kali. Everyone will come in the fold of your love if you grow, if you have real love for your Ishta, for Thakur, for Sri Ramakrishna. Not only God you will love the whole world, whole human beings, animals, the plants, all will have a different relationship with you. You may have first you got detached and I don't want to be entangled. Now entanglement is gone, but love has come. Attachment is gone. True love has come. True relationship has come with other people. So that becomes the love of relationship with the whole world when you really love God. Just how to love our Ishta, how to grow love for Sri Ramakrishna. That is the concern. There is a change. The person becomes changed if we can really grow in love of Sri Ramakrishna. I often talk about what Swami Swahanandaji said when he was asked how he became so wonderful person, Maharaj, great organizer, great lover of God, and a writer and a speaker, and large-hearted, forgiving others, fearless. How so many qualities what did you do to attain that? Swamiji said, "Oh, ঠাকুরকে ভালোবাসলে সব এসে যায়. If you love Sri Ramakrishna, all these divine qualities will come. You don't have to do anything. Love Sri Ramakrishna and transform your unripe ego into the ripe ego. Be a true devotee of Thakur. Then you become true lover of mankind, true lover of whole universe you become. And that is the life of blessedness that you live. And that such blessed life gives so much peace and joy to the world. So that we all the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, we need to be that person, that transformed person, not the one with small ego and unripe ego and always thinking about little things. The person heard my thing or not, he insulted me, he didn't listen to me, what I say should be done. Like that is very petty minded person. We have to be broad minded person. We want to be saintly person. We want to be transformed person. And for that, what is the sign? True lover of Sri Ramakrishna. When we become that, we have gained the goal. Mukti is not far away. Love of Sri Ramakrishna is difficult than attaining mukti, they say. So let us strive to love Sri Ramakrishna by repeating his name, by reading his life, by going through the conversation that he had with him and other people, and by reading the life of the people who were transformed by Sri Ramakrishna, that like the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, monastic and non-monastic, how they lived with God, God lived with them. All reading those things that will add to love Sri Ramakrishna, change our lives, becoming a transformed person, a true lover of God, true lover of humanity. That will come when we can love Sri Ramakrishna by being in touch with Sri Ramakrishna more and more through the devotees of Ramakrishna order, through by reading his books, by doing japam, by meditating on his form, Sri Ramakrishna's form, thus the human form you meditate, that is meditation on God. You don't have to meditate on light, infinite, ocean, sky. No, just meditate on the form of Sri Ramakrishna. You will find the beauty then. We have not understood the beauty of the form of Sri Ramakrishna because we have not tried that. Once we love Sri Ramakrishna, then we'll find there is no other beautiful personality than Sri Ramakrishna. So let us pray for that for everyone. That always praying. May all be devoted to God. May all grow in devotion to Sri Ramakrishna. May all have the real love for Sri Ramakrishna. May everyone's life that is trying to follow Sri Ramakrishna become blessed. So that should be our prayers for our own relatives and also fellow devotees. And of course, for the fellow humanity, may all have that ideal, we all have some ideal to hold on and grow in the path of spirituality. And may everyone become a better person, loving person, kind person. So that prayer also helps them definitely if it is sincere, but more certainly that such prayers help ourselves to grow spiritually, to become definitely a better person. So with that prayer to Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji, Buddha, and Jesus, I conclude today's our scripture class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna online from London, Ontario. So see you on Sunday at 11 o'clock from Vedanta Society of Toronto. And the Sunday talk will be in person as well as online on YouTube. Whatever is convenient, you are welcome to come in the Vedanta Society. There's no problem. We can have one third of the capacity, distance maintaining of 6 feet, or gaps on if you gap of some chairs. So it gives us an opportunity to have at least 50 persons. There are not 50% often don't come. So you are welcome to come. We are arranging our again the simple lunch and meeting the devotees and talking and asking how are they doing. It all adds to the joy of being associated with the Vedanta Society of Toronto. Listening online of the talk is one thing. Coming to the temple itself, seeing the physical, the presence of Sri Ramakrishna through the photograph that he worshipped, touching the altar, and then being with the devotees, taking the prasad. So all those have very positive impact, which cannot be had by having the online class. So those who can drive and have energy, they are welcome to attend the Sunday service in person at the Vedanta Society. Of course, we have put the condition those who want to attend the Vedanta Society programs, they have to be fully vaccinated, and that means the 2 doses of vaccine has to be taken. And we encourage wearing mask and washing hand also while coming. But fully vaccinated persons only can gather in a closed place, closed in a hall or room like the prayer hall. So most of us are fully vaccinated. Those who are not fully vaccinated, they will of course do online. But fully vaccinated people, devotees, if they have energy and time and they want to come, they're all welcome to attend the class in person on Sunday at the Vedanta Society of Toronto. Thank you and good night. We'll close after the closing chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnan Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhu.